Hello, it's just me, Lane, and today we're coming to you from Swan Lake Gardens in Sumter, South Carolina. That's my hometown. This is a two-part garden. One side has most of everything. The other side is botanicals mostly and some swans. But we're going to walk through today a little bit of this park and talk about it. So come along with me. We'll have some fun. This is the entrance. Plenty of parking. I'm going to try to hold this camera as steady as I can, but bear with me. Across the street here. And there are sometimes when I'll be talking a little bit, and sometimes I won't. This park has changed a lot over the years. I've been coming here since I was a little girl. I'm 57, but the park was established in 1927. So it's 95 years old, and in 2027 we'll celebrate its 100th birthday. The park is known for its beauty and irises and all kinds of flowers and trees. And there are actually two gates, but we're going to go through this one. There's just rules of the park. First thing you notice here is a layout of the park. A little map telling you where it's been, but this is also a little history in the front. See if I can get a better view of that. Some dates. Green Swamp Plantation was owned by Mr. Richard Bradford in 1785. But in 1927, Mr. Hamilton Carl Bland began developing the gardens. So that's where it really got its start. You'll see benches donated by different people, trees, statues. We have statues that have adorned now for a little bit of time. But when I was a kid, of course, this stuff wasn't here. Beautiful statue of a little girl. Just snuggled in the trees there. And of course, most people come here to see the swans and the ducks and Canadian geese. We have wood ducks. They have all 8 species of swan here. You look over there. It's a beautiful place to visit. In the springtime, we have the Iris Festival, and a lot of irises are grown here. That was a quite by accident kind of thing. From my understanding, Mr. Bland tried to grow irises here on the property when he owned it and didn't have any success, and he even tried to get expert advice, and after getting frustrated, told his gardener to pull up the bulbs of the iris and just throw them in the swamp. That would be the swamp right here. And when he did, the next spring they grew and bloomed. So there's a feeding station for the ducks and swans. Hello there, Mr. and Mrs. Ducks. But when he did that, it was a quite by accident thing. But he learned how to grow irises the hard way, I guess. Look yonder, there's some baby ducks out there. Look at there. Let's see if I can do a zoom in. Can you see them? Look at that beautiful swan there. I think he's camera shy. He says, "Oh no, I don't want to be on camera." Let's just enjoy him for a minute. When I was a kid, you used to could come in with a bag of bread and feed the ducks and swans. But unfortunately, it got to be where when you came in the fence, they knew food was coming and they would start running toward you. And it got to be a scary thing for adults and children alike. So they eventually told us, no more, you can't feed them anymore. We're just going to have to feed them what they would normally eat. And so that took that out the picture. But it's better because when you come in now, they're relaxed. They don't expect it anymore. And you don't have to worry about it. Now look, they got a push and listen stations. Push and listen stations where you can actually learn about different species of trees that they have. Every so often you'll see one. And in your own time you can just take a listen to whatever information they have. It's a beautiful park. It was very much a different place when I was a kid. It was, I don't know what the right word to use is, I guess generic. It didn't have as much as it has now. It's got fountains and statues and bridges that it did not have when I was a child coming here. So it's progressed over the years. Let's go through this little gate. And look at this here fountain. This statue represents the right wing of a pintail duck and its recovery stroke. This theme evolved from a wing position that is considered the weakest in bird flight. Yet in the artist's eye, it's a position with the most beauty and grace of all of us are in recovery somewhere in our lives, as our environment, of which Swan Lake is a unique part. We are all in some type of recovery all the time. Never really thought of that, but that's true. whether you are starting over in life, getting married for the first time, having a new baby. It's all sounds wonderful, it's great, but it's also a recovery of sorts. You're recovering and you are becoming and evolving from one state of being to another just about all the time. For me, it's getting used to being alone. It's getting used to being alone. And if these are irises here, during the springtime, they bloom. And I'd like to think that that's where Mr. Bland just sort of had the gardener chunk them out and they started. It might be, it might not be, but that's the way I feel like in my bones. But just go throw them out there, I'm done with it. And the next spring they come up and he's like, oh, okay, now I know how to do it. This is a Siberian iris. Had to figure out that gate. Gotta get out of here. Morning sun. I forgot to say that it's July the 23rd, I think, and about 8 o'clock in the morning, 8:30, somewhere up in there, I don't know. You get ready for today. Beautiful. A swan is a graceful and beautiful animal. Leave him to his or her to their grooming. Get up here a little ways and I'll take a little stop. I'm sorry about being so unsteady with the camera. I try. I'm not the best equipment manager, I guess, but I do the best I can. That's all that matters. And just being able to bring you this beautiful garden. Many of you will never see it because you live way on the other side of the country or on the other side of the world, and maybe you won't have the opportunity to ever come. But it's okay, because I'm bringing it to you. Now, I used to, as a kid, this is an old little cove here, and we used to come up in here, and I stuck my hand down in their water. It was higher than that, like you can see where it's really kind of low, but I stuck my hand down kind of like over in that area, or over here, I think it was. And when I did, a snake went up underneath my hand, and it scared the daylights out of me. But I remember it. Good morning, how are y'all? Let's see. Over here, this was one of my favorite little places here. Not only is it shady, but when I was a kid, there was a working fountain, water fountain, and that used to be the first place we would head as kids. We would run to that fountain. I think it aggravated Mom and Daddy, but it was something that we liked to do. You know how kids are. Let's see if it's still there. I think it would come over this way unless they've moved it or gotten rid of it. And they might have moved it, I don't know. I think they got rid of it. Wow. It was old. Yeah. Or they might have relocated it, I don't know. It was all stone. And, you had to turn the little handle, get the water. And that was the fun part of it. And I used to love to hold the knob for my sister and cut it off and just turn it real quick and it would fly up in her face. Look out there over the water. Now there's a little spillway. It's not working right now. We have the moss trees, swans. Different irises and more water over there. The path around here, I think, is right at a mile, maybe a little bit more, I think. People come here to run, to walk, just get out and relax. There's also a kiddie park. Many different types of trees, cypress trees, oak trees. You have different kind of things going on there. We'll see about getting a little seat over here for a minute. In memory of. This seat sits kind of backwards a little bit. I'm hoping I can get off of it when it's time to leave. It's so high up, my feet don't reach the ground. Of course, I'm only 4'11", so there's that. This lake is pretty big, and if I'm not mistaken, the both sides take up about 120 acres. So it's a pretty big park. Excuse me. I didn't eat anything this morning. My stomach is growling. It's okay. I love a place like this with water. So calm. It's places like this, I feel like that you could just come to and relax and forget about your worries. Just forget about everything for a little while. Let's carry on. It's gonna be another hot and muggy day, y'all. I can already feel it. In all my years, I've really never noticed any swans or ducks up on this area. Like, I think it's because it's so high over here. Over there where they go up on the land, it's sloped where they can get out of the water. So you don't never really see any of that over on this side. And I've never noticed this before. Up there in the tree, they got speakers. I guess that's how they announce the park is closing. Give you different angles of the lake. Swans just gracefully going across the water. Beautiful. Now we're coming up on a part of the park that as we as children used to also run to. And my mother would yell, "Don't get to the fence, don't go to the fence. You wait on me." But it's a spill well, and she was always, I think, concerned that even though it was locked and we couldn't get into it, that there might be some way it would come open. Just a mother being a mother, you know. How beautiful that tree is. old spill well doesn't look like it's going either. I think the water level is kind of low, so they got it off. But there it is. No, it's going some. But she was always scared we were gonna fall in there. How you doing? Most of these trees and flowers have information on them or near them.
You get you some good pictures?
Yes, I am.
Good.
Now, I think this, if I'm not mistaken, is the Christmas tree ramp. Every year this park decorates for Christmas. And, you know, it might not be because it's a closed off part here. Somewhere, though, they bring the float that has the Christmas tree on it and they decorate the tree and they send it out. Or they may have now decided that it's just better. I don't know, though. There's a gate here. So they may still bring it up here. Do any adjustments they have to do, add any lights that they want to add or whatever. And let's just rest here a minute. Take a look. This is where we came from over here. We was walking over here. And now we're going this way. And if you look at that water and the rain, there was rain. There's either a turtle there or a fish that come up to the water. See there, right there, where there's bubbles? Could be a fish, could be a turtle. See if we can see. There's definitely some bubbles. This water is by no means like clear water or that type of water. It's always been dark, muggy. What is the other word to describe? Muddy. Excuse me. People here in Sumter are really kind and, for the most part, considerate, and they'll speak to you. When I visited New York, my son said, "Mama, whatever you do, don't speak to nobody on the street." And I said, "Why? That's not very neighborly not to speak to somebody." And he said, "Well, yeah, they think you're up to something if you do it, Mama." So I never did too much speaking. I talked to a couple of people, but didn't do a whole lot. We were over there, and you can choose to go around either way. You can come When you come in the garden, you can come in the far gate and start down, this way. And this path over here that we're going now goes out more toward the front gate where we actually went in a while ago. If you notice that this swamp is lined with a lot of cypress trees. Cypress trees can get large, they can get very tall, they can get a very big base on them. And moss loves a cypress tree. We have a lot of swampy areas here in Sumter. It's a low land, very sandy. And at one point in the Earth's history, of course, we were underwater here. It was, ocean. Um, but, where on the planet has been, has it been? I've heard tales of fossils from the sea being found in places like um, Alaska and Canada and everything. Of course, I'm a believer in the world flood, God's flood. So that's my theory that stuff settled there after the flood. So we were all in the water at one time. Water world. Now, gratefully, I don't think we've ever had a problem with gators here because there are swans and things like that. And they keep an eye on stuff like that because don't want nothing